Hey everyone, I'm Angela from Angela Wolf Video, and this is Video Tech Tuesdays, where we talk about video tech specs and gear. I am coming live to you through YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. So I will be keeping an eye on all my streams. If you have any questions, please comment. And if I don't get a chance to answer them now, I will definitely answer them later. And if you are watching this not live, just make sure you use the hashtag replay so I know I didn't get a chance to answer them yet. So, making sure all my streams are ready to go. And then I say, let's just jump right in. Today we are talking about, let me take this off of the screen for you. You don't need to see my name the whole time. Today we are talking about hard drives. This is a super important thing if you're editing video, because video footage takes up a lot of space, and you can't just keep all your videos on your hard drive or on your computer hard drive. Typically you're going to run out of space. It's also like really a lot of work for the hard drive when you're editing. So I keep all my footage on external hard drives, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. So, real quick, again, we're going to talk about external hard drives. We're not talking about eSATA or the internal hard drives that you could use in your computer. I'm also not going to talk about RAID systems today, because that's a conversation for a whole nother video that needs a dedicated video for itself. So we're just talking about the external hard drives that you could buy that I recommend for editing. So there's a couple of different things you're going to want to take a look at when it comes to purchasing a hard drive. First is the drive speed, which is measured in RPMs, rotations per minute. And your typical hard drive, storage drive that you might find like on Amazon, or just going and picking up a hard drive, you're like, oh, this looks great. Usually they're around 5,400 RPMs. Now that is fine for a storage drive, but for editing, we want something a little beefier. So make sure that you get a hard drive that specifically says that it is 7,200 RPM. Otherwise, it's going to be that lower number. That is just like the rotations per minute that it that the like physical disc and the metal platter actually spins at. Now, the faster it spins, the faster that the drive can work and do all the stuff it needs to do and read and write and all that good stuff. So if you're using a drive that has the physical spinning parts, you want a drive with a higher RPM. So that's kind of what I typically go for. Or if you want something really fast and really fun, you can always go with a solid state drive. Their transfer speeds tend to be about twice as fast as a 7,200 RPM drive. Because the solid state drives are using flash memory instead of a rotating spinning plate, they don't have RPMs, or they aren't really measured in RPMs. All right, so when you're looking at a drive, those are the two speeds that you are going to want. Either if you're using a physical spinning drive, you want the 7,200 RPMs, or pick a solid state drive. Now, next, we're looking at the connections. All right, this is another factor in if your drive's going to be fast enough to actually edit on. That's a big part of this, is that you want a fast drive so that when it's reading the footage and then writing back your edits for the footage, that it's going quickly. You don't have a lag. You don't have like lots of buffering and lots of rendering and a lot of like going on when you're trying to edit. So that's why the idea is to keep it fast. So USB 3.0 connection is about 5 gigabytes per second. USB 3.1 is up to 10 gigabits per second. And then the USB-C is up to 20 gigabits per second. And Thunderbolt 3 is up to 40 gigabits per second. So what does that mean? It means that not only do you need a fast drive speed, but you also need a fast connection. So if you're getting a hard drive that has a USB 3.0 connection, you're tapping out, your transfer speeds. Again, I'm looking at my notes. That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm trying to do math in my head, and that's never a fun thing to do. So the USB 3.0 is 5 gigabits versus USB-C is up to 20, so that's 4 times as fast. And Thunderbolt 3 is 8 times as fast as USB 3. So that's something that you want to keep in mind. It's really important to have faster connections, especially if you're using 4K footage or anything above your standard 1080 HD footage. You're going to want something that's fast so that it can read it fast. The little caveat is that Thunderbolt is really a Mac thing. I have at one point put like Thunderbolt 2 installed onto my PC. It's an actual like driver you need to buy. It was a pain in the butt and it doesn't always work right. So when I switched over to Mac, I have all my drives as Thunderbolts now. They run faster, and as a Mac user, it's just like definitely the way to go. But if you're a PC user, you're going to want to use the USB-C. The other great thing about Thunderbolt is that you can daisy chain them, and every drive down the daisy chain is going to be a little bit slower than the drive before it, so I don't recommend doing a ton of daisy chaining, but it's really useful if you only have 1 or 2 Thunderbolt ports in your computer. You can connect one drive to another drive, that's the daisy chain, and your computer can read and work on all of them down the road. So that is the connections. Next is the size of the drive. You pretty much can't get a hard drive that's less than 1 terabyte anymore, which is like wild. Because I remember, like starting college, having to buy hard drives for film school, and it was like, oh, I got a 250 gigabyte hard drive, guys. Like, right now you can't even get anything for less than 1 terabyte. I personally use hard drives that are between 4 to 6 terabytes because my feeling is I don't want to put all of my projects on one hard drive. God forbid it dies. I always do backups. We'll get to that in a minute. But I don't want to have a hard drive that's so huge that it has 3 years worth of work on it. If a hard drive if I can fill up a hard drive in 6 months, I think that's a good amount of footage for it to hold. Because again, I don't want to be wearing down these hard drives super fast. I don't want to be just like having things sit there for so long and just like increasing the likelihood that it's gonna just die and I'm gonna lose everything. Like they make 18 terabytes and I just like can't imagine if like your 18 terabytes just died one day. I can't. So I typically do 4 to 6 terabytes, but again, it depends on what your footage is and how much you're editing. If you're doing one project and your project's only 500 gigabytes, and you're probably never going to edit again or for a while, right? You just want this one hard drive for this one moment in time. Get it at 1 terabyte. That's fine. A caveat for the sizes, however, is you want to make sure you have at least 10% free space on your hard drive, minimum, all right? So like maybe closer to 20% if you want to get a little bit want to be safe. So if you have a 1 terabyte hard drive, do not put more than 900 gigabytes on it. It's not going to run. It's just not what you want to do, all right? So I would keep it to like 800 gigabytes max of storage space you're using on there so that you can still run things cleanly, all right? Don't just max it out. Don't say, hey, I have a terabyte worth of space, I'll buy a terabyte drive, right? Doesn't work like that. Next, we have brands. You want to go with a super reliable brand because, again, you can go with a cheap brand, but editing puts so much wear and tear on your drives. It really does. It goes just so much writing back and forth between your computer and the hard drive and the exports, and it's just a lot. So the 2 big ones that I like to stick with is G Technology and LaCie. They are wonderful. They're really built solid, and they're built for editing. There's something that you're gonna like. They know what they're doing. Now, let's talk about prices. I like to first off buy my hard drives from B&H. Can also go to Adorama. There's a couple other sites. I don't use Amazon. I know it's Prime Day today. I don't use Amazon because there are a lot of fakes just in general. It's hard to weed them out. It's hard to know when they had their stock in. It's hard to know what's going on Amazon. And this is something that's too important. You know, I edit for a variety of clients. I want to make sure that the hard drives and the equipment I'm using is going to be reliable, and it's going to keep my clients' work safe. So I don't buy things on Amazon when it comes to work. So on B&H, if you search for external hard drives, you can actually go through on the left side of the menu and click that you want either a solid state drive or a 7200 RPM drive. You can click if you want it to be USB-C or Thunderbolt. You can click what brand you want, and then it comes up with search results. So it's really convenient because, again, it's hard sometimes if, you just type in external hard drive and it pops up and you're like, yeah, that looks great. And then it's actually a slow RPM and it doesn't have a good, it's a USB 3, sometimes a USB 2 if it's really old, connection, and it's not going to work right. So I'm going to just compare prices for Geeetech drive so that you can see in comparison, same company. Geeetech tends to be like a hair cheaper than LaCie. LaCie tends to be a little bit more expensive, but they're also seen as a little bit of a better company. So we're going to just go with Geeetech right now. So if we wanted to get a 7200 RPM, rotating drive, 4 terabytes, a Thunderbolt 3 connected one for Geeetech is going to be $320 versus a USB 3.0 is only $140. So that's, the Thunderbolt is more than twice the price. And that can be scary, especially if you're first starting out or if you only have one editing project to do, right? So again, this is maybe if you're just working with one camera and it's a 1080 full HD, no 4K, you're not going to add graphics, you're not doing any color correction, it's something super simple, that USB 3 drive will be fine. You'll be good to go with that. But if you're doing something with 4K footage, if you need to add effects, if you need to add lumetri and color correction and graphics and text and fun stuff, right? Like I had fun stuff and I have a lot, or you have multiple cameras rolling, that's when you're really going to want a USB-C drive or a Thunderbolt drive. Typically Thunderbolt can work for USB-C, but USB-C doesn't work for it or vice versa. It's kind of complicated. But if it has a Thunderbolt, it's going to also have a USB-C port. End of story. All right. So that's when you would definitely want to spend that extra money. Now, what if you're like, hey, Angela, you said solid state drives are even faster. Let's go with that one. Well, get ready for this. The Geeetech 1 terabyte Thunderbolt solid state drive is $330. All right. So it's pretty much the same cost as their 4 terabyte one, but it's 1 terabyte. All right. So if you have a really big's the wrong word. If you have like one project that's really important, maybe it will be really graphics heavy, you might want to go with that solid state drive. For me, a lot of times 1 terabyte is like how much one project has. And I can't just buy, $330 per project, per editing project to have its own dedicated solid state drive. Might be a little bit much. So that's what I personally use typically is around like the 4 terabyte, like 4 to 6, like 6 terabytes, Thunderbolt 3, Geeetech 7200 RPM drives. So that way I can keep multiple projects on it. I'm not keeping all my projects on it. I just have multiple projects on it. And it still runs pretty fast and I like it. And it works pretty well on my new iMac. So that's what I'm happy with and that's what I kind of suggest. But again, it depends on the specific project and what your budget is. Last but not least, backups. All right. You always want to have a backup. I'm one of those anxious, I was trying to think of the right word. I guess anxious person who has 2 backup hard drives for every edit drive I have. All right, so I like to spend money on hard drives. For your backup drives, you can use, they're called storage drives. A lot of times you'll see external hard drives just labeled as storage drives. That means that they're going to be at that lower 5400 RPMs, which is fine for a backup. You don't have to go as big name. If you want to drop down to like a Seagate or a SanDisk hard drive, that's totally fine. The idea is that these aren't getting read and written a whole bunch, right? You offload your footage to your backup drives, and then you keep that in a safe place, somewhere separate, where it doesn't get too hot, people aren't using it, it's living its best life. And then, God forbid, if something happens to your edit drive, which is the one that does all the hard edit work, the hard reading and writing and all day long, right? You can just like go and grab and be like, hey, I've got all my footage saved on my backup drive. And that's why I don't spend money on the super fast backup drives, because they're just sitting there as backups. They're not being read and written a whole bunch. So those are kind of my caveats on what to do. I'm looking, it looks like my Instagram live stream stopped itself. That's what happens. It's raining here. That just likes to mess up everything going on. But for everyone else watching on Facebook or YouTube, that is my spiel on hard drives and what you should pick for your editing project. As per usual, let me know if you have any questions. Message me, comment. I'd love to know what you guys have questions about so I can make more videos. If you are looking to make a video yourself, go to bit.ly/AWV checklist. It's a free download about all the things you need for pre-production on planning your next video project. And if you download it for free, you read it, and you might still have questions, or you think, hey, what if I don't want to do this myself? What if I want to hire someone, or what if I want to look into making this a bigger project? Then go to bit.ly/callawv, and that's a free video analysis call. Just schedule it on my calendar. Jump on a phone call for 15 minutes, and we talk about your project, and I'll let you know what scope it sounds like and what you're going to need for it. So all of that is what I've got to talk about today. And please, like I said, let me know. I will not be here next Tuesday, but probably, yes, the Tuesday after that, unless another shoot pops up, which tends to happen in the summers. So please give me a call if you have any questions. And until next time, everyone have a wonderful couple of weeks. All right. Thanks.